Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today not to peddle comfort but to deliver truth, not to echo what is palatable, but to speak what is piercing. We live in a world too often satisfied by the ordinary, lulled into sleep by predictability, and yet amidst the rhythm of daily life, among the ones who work and worry, laugh and labor, there emerges, now and then, a presence that is not quite like the rest of us, a presence that stirs the dust, splits the silence, unsettles the certainty. We call them the chosen ones, but we seldom dare to question what we mean by that phrase. And today, I tell you, chosen ones are not 100% human. Not because they are angels, not because they descend from stars or wear celestial robes, but because they carry, within the frailty of skin and bone, something more, something that is unyielding, unburnable, incorruptible. There is something in them that belongs to the eternal. In the furnace of adversity, while others melt or break, the chosen ones take form. They do not come to follow, they do not come to be understood, they come to disturb, to rearrange, to awaken. Their spirit is ancient, carved out of the bedrock of time itself, and it cannot be measured by pulse or breath alone. When we say they are not fully human, we speak not of biology, but of essence, of fire in the marrow, of purpose in every step, of a voice that cannot be silenced. Not by kings, not by failure, not even by death. Consider, if you will, the child who grows up in violence and sorrow, where nothing is handed to them but loss, who should, by all logic, fade into the shadows, but instead they rise. Not just rise, but rise singing. They rise leading. They rise bearing light for others to walk by. That is not just a person, that is a vessel of something more. Call it spirit, call it destiny, call it God, if you dare. But do not call it ordinary. There are those among us who even in their youth speak with the wisdom of centuries. They walk into rooms and the air shifts. You've seen them. You've felt them. They do not demand attention, but attention cannot ignore them. Their dreams are not for comfort. Their dreams burn. They disturb the world's sleep. And this is no accident. It is design. Their eyes have seen something the rest of us have not. Their ears have heard the silent instructions of the universe. Chosen ones are not created in laboratories or classrooms. They are forged in deserts and storms. They are called, not crowned. They are shaped, not sheltered. And the shaping, oh, the shaping is brutal. The world knows how to punish difference. It knows how to mock vision. It knows how to exile the bold. So the chosen ones bleed more than others. They weep in solitude. They are misunderstood, misnamed, mistreated. Yet they go on. They go on because they must. Because the call is louder than the cruelty. Because their soul remembers something their body has not yet lived. I have stood in the presence of such people. I have seen the impossible made possible through their belief, through their relentless pursuit of what others call foolish. I have seen a young woman from a crumbling village lift herself out of poverty, build schools for her sisters, and rewrite the laws of her country. I have watched a man who lost everything, including his voice, teach a nation to listen. These are not miracles of flesh. These are not acts of mere humanity. These are eruptions of something divine within the human frame. These are the chosen. They did not ask for this. They did not volunteer. They were taken, set apart, like coal pressed into diamond. And perhaps you are wondering, what has this to do with me? I am no chosen one. I am just trying to make it through the day. I am just a worker, a student, a parent, a name among billions. But let me stop you right there. The presence of the chosen is not to dazzle you, it is to awaken you. Their fire is not for spectacle, it is for ignition. If you feel it in your chest, that aching pull towards something more, if you have dreams that don't let you sleep, visions that won't shut up, then perhaps you too are not fully human. Perhaps you too are one of them. And that should terrify you. It should also set you free. Because once you accept the truth of your own calling, you cannot go back to smallness. You cannot unsee the fire. You cannot unwant the truth. To live as a chosen one is not to live in glory. It is to walk in loneliness sometimes, to live with the weight of knowing that what you carry cannot be dropped, cannot be passed to another. You will lose friends. You will lose illusions. You will lose rest. But you will gain power, not power to rule others, but power to heal, to speak, to build, to change. And what a sacred trade that is. Do not envy those with easy lives. Do not crave the comfort of the uncalled. For when the chosen rise, they do not rise alone. They rise with generations behind them and futures ahead of them. They rise bearing stories that must be told, laws that must be broken, doors that must be kicked open. I tell you now, with no poetic indulgence, with no exaggeration, the world is on fire, and it will not be saved by those who seek approval. It will not be redeemed by those who wait for permission. It will not be led by the lukewarm or the half-awake. It will be transformed by the ones who dare to believe they are more than flesh, more than culture, more than job title, or passport or skin. The ones who feel lightning in their spine when truth is spoken. The ones who cannot look away from injustice without feeling sick. The ones who speak even when their voice shakes. Who go first, so that others might follow. Who fall, and still rise. Again and again. These are not fully human. These are something else. And still the world will ask you to deny it, to pretend, to shrink, to play safe, to stay small. But I ask you to listen to that quiet place inside, the one that does not speak often. But when it does, you feel it like a drumbeat in your bones. Listen, hear it now. It's calling, not just to admire the chosen, but to join them, to recognize that the fire they carry has always lived inside you too. You just have to remember. You just have to believe. Because, my dear ones, if you live long enough, you will come to see that every revolution began with a voice, not a crowd. Every movement was started by one restless soul, who could not let things stay the same. You will see that all progress is born of defiance, that all truth-tellers are first ridiculed, then feared, then followed, and that the chosen ones do not wait for the world to be ready. They make it ready. They do not seek power. They embody it. They do not ask if it's possible. They make it so. Because what they carry is not optional. It is essential. It is elemental. And it is not, cannot, be fully human. Let the scientists debate the limits of biology. Let the historians record the rise and fall of nations. But let us, in this moment, honor the mystery that walks among us. The ones who live at the edge of what is known, the edge of what is acceptable. Let us honor the flame in them, even when it scorches. Let us honor their clarity, even when it challenges our comfort. Let us not try to tame them. Let us not try to mold them into our image. Let us instead be remade in theirs. And if you find yourself weeping without knowing why, speaking before you're ready, marching when you'd rather hide, then perhaps you are not just you. Perhaps you are the echo of ancestors unfinished. Perhaps you are a bridge for those yet to come. Perhaps you too are chosen. And that means you must choose. You must choose to rise, to speak, to stand, to move. The world has enough spectators. It needs voices. It needs disruptors. It needs the ones who remember they are more than skin and breath. It needs those who are not 100% human. So walk out of here today, not with answers, but with fire. Not with comfort, but with courage. Let your very life become a sermon, your every step a protest against the sleep that swallows so many. Look into the mirror and ask, not who am I, but what am I becoming? Let that question haunt you, fuel you, free you, and never again forget. To be chosen is not to be better, it is to be burdened, it is to be branded by truth. And truth, my friends, is the only thing that has ever changed this world. You are not alone. You are not insane. You are not mistaken. If you hear the call, answer it. And if you see someone carrying fire, don't turn away. Walk with them. Learn from them. Protect them, for they are not entirely of this world. They are not fully explainable, but they are utterly necessary. And so are you. And I know, oh I know what it costs. This path of the chosen, this unraveling of the ordinary. I know what it feels like to sit in a room full of people, and feel like your spirit is speaking a language none of them can hear. I know the silence that falls after you've said something true, and too bold. When the air grows still and you realize you've crossed into territory most are too frightened to enter. I know the loneliness of vision, the fatigue of leading, the ache of carrying something sacred in a world that often prefers the profane. You see, the chosen ones do not live for applause. They live for alignment. They are not driven by ego but by urgency. And though the world may mock or dismiss them, deep down it knows, it always knows when it's in the presence of something rare. Because something shifts when the chosen ones speak. Time slows. Ears prick. Eyes widen, and even if people don't understand every word, their souls understand. They feel the trembling in their bones, the stirring in their gut. Because truth, when spoken by someone who's lived it, does not ask permission to enter. It crashes through, and that is what the chosen ones bring. Not comfort, not convenience, but clarity. And clarity is disruptive. It breaks illusion. It shatters lies. It demands that we awaken. Now I ask you to look around at this world of ours, not with the eyes you use to read headlines, but with the eyes of your spirit. Look beyond the surface. Look past the noise. You will see a planet aching for something real, a people drowning in distraction, in fear, in division. And you will see, if you dare to look close enough, that the systems we've built, our politics, our economies, our cultures, are groaning under the weight of their own emptiness. We have more technology than ever, yet less connection, more data, yet less wisdom. We've grown obsessed with appearance, but forgot how to see. And in this landscape of hollow success and loud nothingness, the chosen ones rise, not with noise, but with presence, not with gimmicks, but with grit, not to entertain, but to enlighten. And yes, some of them wear suits, some wear sandals, some stand at podiums, some sweep the floors. The chosen ones are not always dressed in what we expect, but you will know them, not by their status, but by their steadiness, not by their wealth, but by the weight of what they carry. Their value is not in their visibility, but in their vibration. They do not move like the crowd, because they are not made for the crowd, and still they love the crowd. They serve it. They labor for it. They weep for it, but they never become it. That is the sacred paradox of the chosen ones. They belong to all, but are possessed by none. They are mirrors, but not masks. They reflect truth, not illusion. And the truth is that the chosen ones are not extraordinary, because they have never failed, but because they have failed, and kept rising. They have been betrayed, and kept loving. They have been broken and kept building. They have walked through hell, and returned carrying water for others. That, my friends, is not simply human. That is something more. And I speak to those among you who feel this in your marrow. You may not yet have a title. You may not yet have a platform. But you have always known deep inside that you are meant for more than survival, more than routine, more than pleasing others. You were born to create, to disrupt, to lift, to lead. You may not know the full shape of your calling yet, but you feel it pressing on your ribs, pulling at your dreams. And though you've tried to silence it, to choose safety over sacredness, it keeps returning. It returns because it is not a fantasy. It is a flame. It is your essence demanding expression. And I am here to tell you, do not bury it. Do not dim it. Do not ask permission to be who you were born to be. Because we are entering a time, a threshold, a turning, where only the fully awakened will be able to lead. This new world that is being born through pain and protest, through collapse and courage, will not be stewarded by the polished. It will not be guided by the sanitized. It will be shaped by those who have met the darkness and dared to name the light, by those who have walked barefoot through their own failures and emerged with compassion in their eyes. This next chapter in our collective story demands the fierce tenderness of the chosen ones. Those who are not fully human, because what they carry comes from beyond the veil. And some of you are hiding. You felt the call, but you've hesitated. You've convinced yourself that someone else will do it, that the fire will go out if you just stay quiet. But it won't. It can't. Because your fire is not just yours. It belongs to us all. And when you dim it, we all lose something. When you stay silent, we all miss a piece of the truth. When you deny your calling, the world becomes a little more asleep. So I say to you now, rise, speak, move, do the thing you've been afraid to do. Say the thing you've been rehearsing in your head for years. Start the work. Claim your fire. Because we cannot afford for you to stay hidden. Not now, not with what is at stake. And let me be clear, this is not a call to arrogance. The chosen ones do not think themselves better. They do not see themselves as rulers, but as vessels. They do not believe they are perfect. They know they are not. But they also know that what moves through them is perfect, and they trust it. They obey it. They make room for it even when it terrifies them, because that's what obedience looks like for the chosen. Doing the thing even when it doesn't make sense, even when it's unpopular, even when it costs everything. They are not driven by applause. They are driven by alignment. And perhaps the most dangerous thing about the chosen ones is that they remind us what we too could become. That is why some resist them. That is why the world has always crucified its prophets, silenced its poets, jailed its visionaries, because truth is uncomfortable. It exposes what is false. And when the chosen ones walk into the room, they don't need to say a word. The energy shifts, the lies tremble, and the sleepers feel something they can't explain. That is the power of someone who is not fully human. That is the effect of someone who has said yes to the fire. But you don't have to wait for someone else to be that. You can become that. You already are. There is a part of you that has always known this, even if no one ever affirmed it. Even if your culture, your upbringing, your environment tried to extinguish it, it's still there. The divine in you, the fire, the voice, the knowing. You have not lost it. You have only been taught to fear it. But fear is not your master. Fear is the doorway. And once you step through it, you will remember who you are. And when you do, when you choose to stand in that fire, you will see that others are watching. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone will approve. But someone will recognize themselves in your rising. Someone will find courage in your clarity. Someone will begin their own journey, because you dared to begin yours. And in that moment the lineage of the chosen continues. Not through blood, but through bravery. Not through birth, but through decision. This world needs more than cleverness. It needs more than business plans and polished speeches. It needs soul. It needs substance. It needs people who are not afraid to be fully alive. And that kind of aliveness does not come from comfort. It comes from consecration. It comes from surrender. From fire. From truth. And that, my friends, is what the chosen ones carry. That is what makes them something more than just human. That is what sets them apart. Not in status, but in spirit. And so as I bring these words to a close, let me leave you with this. The chosen ones are not few. They are many. But most do not know who they are. Most are waiting for a sign, a moment, a mentor, a miracle. But the truth is, the waiting must end. The miracle is you. The time is now. And the world cannot wait any longer for the fire inside you to become the light outside you. You were never meant to live quietly. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to rise. So rise. Not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Rise. Not in anger, but in clarity. Rise. Not for yourself alone, but for all who cannot. Rise. And keep rising, until the old world gives way to the new. And when you feel tired, remember you were not made from flesh alone. You were made from the breath of something eternal. You are not only human, you are holy. You are chosen. And chosen ones do not rest while the world suffers. They do not dim while the world darkens. They burn. They blaze. They lead us home. And so I honor the fire in you. I speak to the part of you that cannot be measured or explained. I bow to the light you carry, even if you do not yet know how to carry it. May you remember. May you awaken. May you rise. Not someday, but now. The world is waiting. Do not mistake this call for some grand parade, a trumpet-blown arrival of greatness wrapped in silk and ceremony. No, the choosing rarely happens in spotlight. It arrives quietly, often in the stillness between heartbreak and hope, when you are down on your knees, asking for direction, or maybe even asking for it all to stop. It comes like a whisper at first, a flicker beneath the rubble of defeat, beneath layers of rejection, disappointment, and silence. And the ones who answer it truly answer it, do so not because they believe themselves to be powerful, but because they finally understand that their pain, their difference, their relentless longing, was never a flaw. It was the signal, the sign, the proof that they were built for something different. Not better, not higher, just different. Built not to belong but to become. And isn't it strange that the world teaches us to run from what makes us different? That from the moment we show a little too much light, we are told to dim it. That when a child speaks too boldly, sees too clearly, feels too deeply, we rush to tame them. We call it discipline. We call it realism. But often it is fear disguised as guidance. We fear what we do not understand, and we rarely understand the chosen. But the wise among us, the ones who have tasted their own choosing, know better. They know that the ones who feel too much are not broken. They are tuned. That the ones who cry without reason are connected to something most have forgotten how to feel. That the ones who question everything are not rebellious. They are remembering. Yes, to remember. That is the task of the chosen. To remember what others have forgotten. To remember that we were never meant to be machines. That our value does not come from our productivity or our performance. That this life is not about perfection but presence. The chosen ones are those who walk among us as living reminders, reminders of truth, of soul, of the fierce, blazing beauty of being alive and awake. They do not always have the right words. They do not always take the easy road. But they have that look in their eyes, that far-off fire, that tells you they've seen something, that tells you they can't go back. And I know too how tempting it is to deny this path, to look around and say, who am I to carry something sacred? Who am I to speak truth into a world deafened by lies? But let me say it plain, it is not your job to qualify yourself. That has already been done. If the fire burns in you, that is qualification enough. If your dreams disrupt you, if your silence haunts you, if your vision refuses to let you sleep, then you are already chosen. And the only question left is, will you choose back? Because choosing back is the real test. It is not done in the comfort of applause. It is done in the quiet moments, the moments when you could give up and no one would blame you. The moments when walking away would be easier, cleaner, safer. It is done when you keep speaking even after your voice has cracked. When you keep walking even with blisters on your feet. When you keep showing up even when the door has been slammed in your face for the 10th time. That is what makes you more than human, not the absence of weakness but the persistence of presence. The ability to keep showing up anyway, to keep believing, anyway. That is where the divine leaks through. And oh, how we need that divine now. We need the ones who speak not to impress but to awaken, the ones who teach not to dominate but to liberate, the ones who refuse to trade soul for comfort, who would rather walk alone in truth than be crowned in a palace of lies. These are not metaphors. These are mandates, because the earth is trembling beneath our feet, not just from nature but from the weight of our forgetting. And it is the chosen ones who will remind us, who will pull us back to what matters, who will anchor us in something deeper than convenience or trend. Some of you may be sitting here thinking, I have no great platform, I am not a leader, I am not a speaker or a writer or a healer. What could I possibly offer? And to you I say, if you carry truth, you carry revolution. If you live with integrity, you are already leading. If you love fiercely, you are already healing. The chosen ones do not all look the same. They are not always on stages. They are not always known, but they are always necessary. They are the quiet warriors, the unseen architects, the soul tenders, the truth keepers, and the world does not survive without them. Let me tell you something else. Being chosen doesn't mean being immune to suffering. In fact, it means you'll likely feel it more, carry more, see more. But in that carrying, something beautiful happens. You begin to realize that your pain, your grief, your unanswered questions are not just yours. They are ancestral. They are generational. You begin to realize that your life is not just your own, that everything you heal in yourself ripples outward, that everything you remember pulls someone else closer to their truth. That is the quiet miracle of the chosen. They heal not just themselves, but everyone they touch, sometimes without even knowing it. And so if the path ahead feels heavy, good, that means it's real. That means you're not pretending. But let that heaviness be holy. Let it be the weight of your responsibility, not your regret. Let it remind you that you were not made to walk this world untouched. You were made to feel. You were made to burn. You were made to change everything you touch. Not because you're better, but because you remember. You remember a time when people lived in rhythm with the earth, when truth was more valuable than comfort, when beauty was sacred, when love was revolutionary. You remember that, even if you've never seen it, and your life is the bridge between what was and what could be again. So carry it well, not perfectly, but powerfully. Carry it with trembling hands if you must, but carry it. Let the world see what it looks like when someone truly shows up. Let them feel the ground shift when someone chooses purpose over popularity. Let them witness the sacred mess of a life lived in truth. Let your very existence be a rebellion against numbness, against conformity, against forgetting. And if you feel overwhelmed, know that you're not alone. Every chosen one has felt that too. Every prophet has doubted. Every visionary has wanted to quit. Every leader has wondered if they were losing their mind. But they kept going. Not because they were fearless, but because something inside them was more powerful than fear. Because something inside them could not be silenced. And that something is in you too. So let it speak. Let it rise. Let it break you open and build you anew. This world does not need more sleepwalkers. It needs fire. It needs thunder. It needs truth. It needs you. Not the masked, edited, diluted version, but the real, raw, luminous you. The one who remembers. The one who burns. The one who came here, not just to survive, but to transform. You were never meant to blend in. You were born to stand out. Not for attention, but for alignment. You were born to be a signal in the static, a lighthouse in the storm, a melody in the noise, and if that makes you feel more than human, it's because you are. The chosen ones always are. So go, not quietly, but boldly, not perfectly, but powerfully. Live your truth, speak your fire, carry your light, and trust that in doing so, you will awaken others. You will break chains. You will start fires. You will bring heaven a little closer to earth. That is the work. That is the calling. That is the burden. That is the gift. You are not fully human. You are something more. You are chosen. And as you walk this path, understand that your steps will echo. Not in marble halls or grand theaters perhaps, but in the sacred corridors of those who watch you without a word, who see in your courage a mirror of what they've hidden in themselves. You are being watched, not with envy, but with hope. Watched by children who do not yet have the language for dreams. Watched by elders who wonder if anyone still remembers. Watched by peers who have forgotten how to believe in anything without proof. You are the evidence. You are the proof. And it is not your accolades or your achievements that testify to your choosing. It is your refusal to abandon yourself when the world insists you should. It is your insistence on still standing, still speaking, still loving, even after you've been broken open more times than you can count. Let no one tell you that choosing this life of fire and honesty and depth is easy. It is not. It is not without loss. You will lose comfort. You will lose illusion. You may even lose people you once thought would walk with you forever. The chosen often walk alone for a time, not because they are unloved, but because their path is not crowded. It is carved, day by day, moment by moment, by each act of integrity, each word of truth, each courageous refusal to shrink. And still, despite the solitude, despite the aching cost, it is the only path that leads to freedom. Because while the world is quick to offer you safety, it rarely gives you liberty. And there is a difference between being safe and being free. The chosen ones are not content with safety.